Well, hey guys, it's Rebecca Ruth. Thanks so much for popping in with me today. Today I have Kristina Petrick with me. Hey, Kristina.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, good, good. So before we jump in, a little fun fact. I don't even think you know this, Kristina, but Kristina was actually my very first model that I styled after I officially became a business. And I
Ah,
don't think you do that.
I did
Um,
not know that. That is a fun fact.
yeah, so Diego, of course, Diego. I went to him, he's my mentor, and he was like, okay, so your test is going to be to put together a look for a model. And I had no idea who the model was going to be. He was just like, put together a look. And I was like, okay. And then it ended up going on you.
Oh, that is so fun. I mean, we've been in the fashion industry business together, like alongside for
Right, a
years.
long time. So, little fun fact there of how way back we go. But anyway, so having said that, Kristina, tell us where you are and what you do in the industry.
Sure. So right now I'm located in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I do a few different things in the fashion industry. My main career is working as the creative and marketing director for a company called Consolidated Shoe, which is a women's shoe company. We have about a half a dozen different brands depending on the season. So that's what I do. I do the normal 8 to 5 kind of gig there. And then about 5 years ago, I also started a fashion blog. So I do that on the side. And actually, 2 months ago now, I guess, I launched an e-commerce store in fashion. So I'm kind of like all over the board in the fashion industry. So I dabble with a little bit of everything.
Yes, I did actually see that e-commerce store, but Consolidated Shoes, we love Consolidated Shoes because that's where we pulled a lot of shoes for fashion shows.
Yeah, yeah, especially if anybody that's watching is local because we have the outlet there here locally. So everybody loves to run in there and get those at those wholesale prices. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually don't know this about you, but did you always want to have a career in fashion?
I did. So, well, I was the typical college student when I first got into school. I really couldn't decide between, I wanted to be a veterinarian and a pediatrician, and I wanted to train dolphins, and fashion was one of those things that was in the mix. And I think what kind of finally tipped me over the edge was I decided I wanted to eventually have the opportunity to work from home, which I do now, which I'm super grateful for. And so I decided to go into marketing, in media marketing. So I went to school for visual marketing. I started as a graphic designer in marketing. I knew I really wanted to do it in fashion. So now I feel like I've kind of landed that really sweet spot from what I like to do, but did a couple of things before I got here. So it was a journey for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool because I've talked to a couple people from, back then in Lynchburg and to see where everybody is now. I feel like the old like mom or like teen mom or something. It's like, oh, my babies, they grew up.
I love that. I love watching to see what people do and how they change and find their life path.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the blog, about the
Sure.
fashion blog.
Sure. So, really, I started it while I was working for Consolidated Shoe, and at the time, we had our own influencer marketing program, and it was really sporadically out of the blue where I came to this moment that was like, wow, this is so fun. We're sending shoes to influencers. Like, this looks like something that I would really enjoy. And Lynchburg has a really growing and developing fashion community, but at the time, there wasn't a lot going on that you could find. And so it was the way that I thought this could be a way that I can kind of express myself in a community that has similar interests as I do. So all in the same day, I launched every single social media channel, the actual blog website, got it up in a day, and just kind of started doing it as inspiration came to me. So it was really just about a fun hobby project. And then within the first 3 months, I had the first brand reach out and say, hey, we would love to work with you. And it just kind of started rolling from there. I started getting a lot of offers, and I realized, like, wow, this is not just a hobby, it can also be a business, and it can also be something that I can do from a career standpoint. Working as a creative and marketing director, it's great to be able to have experiences on both sides of the industry, both being an influencer and working with them, just to get a different perspective and understand how that consumer journey works.
That's really interesting because I know a lot of people ask that question about how to become an influencer and how to forge those like relationships, I guess you can say, with different brands. I know that I've been asked that. How do you do it? How does that work?
Yeah.
I've been reached out, to by different brands. So, I mean, would you say that it was really just kind of you putting yourself out there and stuff like that, and then, or what?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think for the most part, yes, and it's gone through ebbs and flows. And I think just talking about mental health and talking about some of these things, like it really is an ebb and flow, and you can see how easily some issues develop in this industry because of that ebb and flow. So like I said, I started it just as a passion project, and I really loved it. And then you do sort of, for me, the growth was really natural. I never reached out to brands. I wasn't trying to become a brand. I wasn't trying to make a business out of it. And people were contacting me, and to the point that I could have made that my stable income, and just done that and pursue that. I decided not to, because I obviously can't stop moving, so I have to do many things at once. But yeah, it's weird, because it kind of in the beginning had this really huge flow of people reaching out and wanting to work together, and then Facebook bought Instagram and the algorithm changed, and that made a huge difference, I think. And at that time, I was actually working in New York City for a marketing agency, and I was very connected to a lot of bloggers, because of course in New York City there's a huge center of other people that are doing that business. And it was crazy, because it did affect people, when brands stopped reaching out, or they weren't able to get paid jobs anymore, whatever it might be. It does sort of affect the way, they're getting less likes, less comments. And myself too have gone through these ebbs and flows, and it is hard not to take it personally sometimes. So it's like, even it starts personal, it turned into a kind of business. So there's, thankfully in my ebbs, I wasn't relying on that for my career, but some people are, and some people do it for pleasure. But either way, if you're relying on it for income, that can be very stressful. That can create a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And if it's for your personal enjoyment, it can be depressing to be like, why don't people love me anymore? Like, why don't they love me as much as they used to? What am I doing wrong? And so, yeah, it's definitely a swing. And I think that if you're in the industry and you want to get involved, that's great. But just realize, like, that is part of it. And you have to be able to have the confidence and personal security to say, that's okay. It's just social media.
Yeah, that's social media though. It gets you.
Yeah.
It gets you though. And then, yeah, so then that's, I don't know, like, I think that's something that I personally, maybe I've been nervous to venture out into into like the influencer brand, all that stuff. But I see it, and like I said, I get questions about it all the time. And so I'm like, I don't know, maybe I should, I don't know. But
Oh, you definitely should. You would be perfect for it. You would love it. People will love you. You just got to put yourself out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But so let's talk some more about your e-commerce, because I saw that announcement, like maybe, what is it, 2 months ago now?
Yeah, about maybe even less, maybe a month or so. But yeah, so this actually has been a sort of brainchild for a while, years. And last year I really started putting the pieces together of, okay, what would it take? What's the kind of product that I want to carry? What are the future goals? And so it's really still just a baby right now. It's just an infant. I launched with a mixture of what I'm calling the wardrobe, which is new and slightly worn pieces that I've received from the blog, because I just there's so much access in the fashion industry, and receiving stuff sometimes daily, it becomes overwhelming and excessive, and there's no other better word for it. And I don't want to be caught in that trap where you feel like things or your lifestyle choices become really hyper materialistic. So for me, it was a way to turn it around, share it with other people, and not let it go to waste. Create a circular economy. Talk about this all the time as part of sustainability. And I don't want things to go to waste. I don't want things to build up in my wardrobe. I would rather they are shared with somebody else. So I have a big basket that I throw stuff in, and my girlfriends have just like periodically come and grab stuff and done that, and we still do that And then I also have some pieces I list on the site, and then as well as pieces that I've sourced from different places around the world to be able to sell retail that way. So the future goal, because I'm very big into traveling for work and pleasure, obviously not now because of COVID. So that slowed down the process a little bit. But I really want to, when I go to these places, sometimes you just find really unique pieces or items that you can't find anywhere else. And so I really want to be able to bring that back and share that experience or those items with other people.
That's awesome though, because, I think in the fashion industry, I think in general we tend to be excessive. And but it's like it's encouraged almost, choices, we need choices, and so it's like we tend to be excessive, so there's always, I feel like, tons of leftover. And then it's like, even when we used to when we did fashion shows and stuff, I'm like, what, like, and it's just like, just goes and sits in Diego's closet, for forever. And I'm like, you should like give that away, give it to me, like something.
If you need volunteers. Now, I'm definitely guilty of it sometimes too, because you hang on to stuff like, oh, maybe on a special occasion,
Right. Also, fashion comes back and goes away. So there's that too. So that's where I get, honestly, that's my hang up. I'm like, yeah, but it'll probably come back in style though. Like,
sometimes you get these pieces and you're like, well, I love this. It's just, I don't wear it anymore. So, but I don't want to give it away because I like it.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's like an awesome idea that you have to turn around. And then, yes, it does. I've gotten more and more aware, I would say, when it comes to sustainability and everything like that, and helping that cause. So obviously that helps with that as well. So very cool, very cool, very cool. So I know I've seen pictures on Instagram, you posting with the brands and stuff, but other than that, do you still model at all?
Not really. I guess the closest thing that you would say that I do to modeling is when sometimes through the blog, I'll get offered shoots that are not necessarily something that I'm posting. So I'll work with brands and they'll have a specific campaign, or I've had, they're shooting or I'm shooting. So it just depends. Especially when I was in New York, there was a lot of shoots that were happening in the area. And so I would get shortlisted to do that and, go out there, shoot for a half day and that kind of thing. But, in Lynchburg, there isn't a ton of that kind of opportunity, and also just not having the time. And I guess for me, it's funny because I'm like, my face is so public and it's like all over the blog, but I actually am not like hyper comfortable in front of the camera unless it's like somebody I really know well that's shooting. And so it actually makes me uncomfortable to model.
That's how it always happens. Like it always happens. But I remember that though, because I remember when I think you came to a casting call, right? Yeah. And I remember like your brother came, he just kind of came, but you had to get kind of dragged along.
Yeah.
And I don't even think you were coming to the casting call. I think you were just accompanying your brother.
Yeah.
And then Diego was like, who's that?
I'm a little bit introvert actually. So
he was like, she needs to come over here. And you were like, no, I'm not here. I'm just here with my brother. He's like, you're here now. So that's awesome.
Got roped in, but it was fun.
Yeah, it was very fun. Like I sometimes miss those days, but I also appreciate them because that's kind of what, springboarded everything else. So
and like we're still in touch. Like
I know
that was born out of it. I don't know if you remember Danny Gonzalez, but he did he was in that lineup as well. And we're friends. So there's a lot of good that comes out of being a part of the community.
Yeah. Is he still in Lynchburg?
He's still in Lynchburg.
He's still in Lynchburg. Okay, yeah, I remember him. So that means that you've been in the industry at least as long as I've been in, like, officially in the business, maybe longer. So after all these years of being in the industry in one way or another, let's talk about, you touched on it, but let's talk about how you self-care and like the mental part of things within this industry, and how you manage that and you get through the pressures and stuff of that in the industry.
Sure. I think, well, I guess first let me say, I think to me, I mean, there's definitely very many different kind of ways that we need to have a strong mental health. And I think two of the biggest issues in the industry are obviously depression. I think that people talk about that a lot because there's so much pressure to be or look a certain way or to come across a certain way or be so popular. So I think that that's a very common one. But, you know, for me personally, like I do struggle a lot with anxiety because I am a perfectionist. I'm a middle child. I'm very type A. And I think that specifically in the fashion industry, which is extremely fast paced, it's always changing. You kind of have to have your hands in everything to stay relevant. So it can become super overwhelming at times. You know, self-care is just, you know, it's kind of a coined term now. Okay, like what is self-care? And I guess to me, it's about both physically and mentally caring for yourself and your wellness. And so, you know, like I said, I've seen a gamut of different issues arise in the fashion industry. I've worked with people that have struggled really, really badly with these problems and needed to go talk to people. And I think that it's very, very important to develop a routine and a sort of method that you can pull yourself out if you get into those. So one of the things that I kind of, you know, try to share with myself, just to remind myself and also to encourage other people, is that you should never seek your mental health in what other people think of you. So I think the first step is just learning to become mentally and emotionally independent in a way that you are not relying on other people's view of you for your happiness and for your wellness. So that is not to say you should never lean on people or have friends or a great network. I think those things are very, very important. But when you let people influence you negatively, that's where it becomes bad. So part of my routine is really more of just a thought process of saying, you know, waking up in the morning, and instead of saying, okay, who am I supposed to be? Wake up in the morning and say, who do you want to be today? You know, and I think it was an Instagram post maybe, or a blog. I don't remember where I said it, but I was kind of having this moment where I was thinking about this. You know, people say to dress for the career that you want. And I don't believe that. I think you should dress for who you want to be that day. And that is a very different thing. And it's part of that mental process of wellness and stability to say, not what other people want or expect. Who do you want and who do you want to be that day? So that is a really important thing for me. Secondly, I think it's just specifically with anxiety, it's really important to take a step back and just make time for yourself. I have 3 different ongoing calendars. They're all color coded. I have Post-it notes. I have like reminders. Everything is set. And sometimes you're trying to fill in every 30 minutes, and you can't operate like that. So do make time for yourself and in whatever feels recharging to you. And I think that recharging is such a key word, because when people are like, well, I do make time for myself. You know, I went out and got cocktails with a friend, or, you know, I went to this party. I had a great time. I had a great adventure. I went on this trip. Those things might be great experiences, and I encourage people to do that, but it does not necessarily mean that you are recharging. So I think that part of my process is also just leave space to recharge. And for different people, that might be different things. For some people, going out and going to a party might feel like a recharge. For me, that's not it. So for me, I'm going to run a hot bath. I'm going to pour a glass of wine. I'm going to go for a walk or for a hike or be somewhere alone and quiet and have me personal time to think. And I do struggle making that time, but I think even if it's one day a week, give yourself a facial, take your time moving around the house, like watch Netflix, do something that is like unplug. I don't have to think. You're not responsible for anything, and take care of yourself. And there's just a lot of positive things that can come out of that, because when you're mentally recharged, you are going to have the strength and just the personal fortitude to be able to take on whatever challenges come in that day. Sorry,
That's
more
really,
I said, sorry, I'm long-winded.
Oh, no, I was just sitting there. Yep. Yep. No, I'm good. I think that something that, two things. One thing that really came to mind when you were talking was, it's like turn on Netflix, because there's this conflict going on right now, right? Where it's like, I always say, I've been saying throughout this whole COVID experience, like, although I'm not at all happy about COVID, and I know that's very serious, a lot of us have also been given the gift of time. The positive, I guess you can say, is that we have been given the gift of time, because we can't go anywhere. We're in our homes. So it's like, use that time wisely, right? But then at the same time, we're not ignoring the fact that it's stressful. I have a 5-year-old here 24/7.
Very stressful.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm trying to do my business and my work and all this stuff and still be mom 24/7 now. So it's like, at the same time, it's okay to watch Netflix sometimes,
Yeah.
and I think that sometimes people have a hard time with that balance, because they're like, well, she said take advantage of this time, so I gotta work, I gotta keep going. But then it's like, well, I'm about to pass out, so I feel guilty just like watching Netflix. So it's like, it's okay, guys, it's okay to grind, as we like to say, and then cut it off at a certain point and say, you know what, I'm done, I'm good, I've given it my all today, and or whatever it is, however often you choose to do this, and now I'm just gonna, and like you said, it looks different for everyone. For me personally, right now during this time, it is Netflix, but it's Netflix.
Feel free to send me your recommendations.
It is. And the thing is, I've never been a TV person, but that was because I had a different life just 6 months ago. Now, with the life that I currently have, it is Netflix at 10 o'clock at night, after I've literally done my entire day. I have push. I put my son to bed. Now I'm like, whew, I will watch a show or two, unwind, and then off to bed to do it again the next day. And it looks different for everyone. So it's like, I just want people to understand it's okay to have that healthy balance of both, and don't feel guilty about either one, because you actually need both.
It's really important. And I do talk a lot, like, you can read my blog, and there's a ton about like how to balance like 8 million to-dos. And because that is my life, but don't feel, like you said, don't feel like you can't. And don't think that you're the only one that needs it. Every CEO and millionaire that I know has even asked me personally, what do you do to unwind? And a lot of times they'll have something like, I have one friend that comes to mind who's a CEO, and he does crossword puzzles in the morning. Or, I have another friend that always watches a TV show in the evening, and some read fiction or whatever it is. But I have found a very, very consistent pattern that very, very successful people who slay all day long also have and need, and encourage you to have some space where you can unwind.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you added that very successful people, because it is absolutely, I'm the same way. All of my millionaire friends, CEO friends, whatever, myself included, like, they are successful and they grind, like they go. That's why they're successful, but they know how to relax hard as well.
Work hard, play harder, right?
Right. That's exactly what I say. I say work hard, play harder. Exactly. So that's super important. But also, you had mentioned a little while back with your blog and stuff like that. I don't know if you're talking about blog or Instagram, and maybe both, about the importance of it's hard, but taking it personally when you're like, oh, there's no likes, people don't like me. And the thing is that, like, I laugh, but I only laugh because I'm like, it's so true. Like, I've personally gone through that, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, on the days where I get 5,000 likes, which I've never gotten on a blog, on a post, by the way. But when I get a lot, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all that. Like, people are paying attention, people are listening. Yeah. And it's like, but then the very next day, only 2 people will like, and I'm like, man, I suck.
It does. And it's like the huge psychology behind, I've read a couple articles how many times people reopen it up and refresh and try to see like how many new people. And I've been guilty of doing the same thing. And nobody's infallible to that. I think that that is a human nature to want people to adore and approve of us. We're like, oh, please just love me. We all want that. But I think the second you become dependent on that is when a problem arises. So I think that that's just, it's the world that we live in right now. Social media is such a huge part of people's lives in many ways, in way too much of a big part of their lives. And of course, like as an Instagrammer, as all of that kind of stuff, it sounds maybe double-sided, but I don't let that run my life. And I have in the past, I have let it, put me in a bad mood. And I've even been like, I'm just going to trash this. I don't want to do it anymore. Like, so frustrating, so depressing. Like, can't do anything right. I've had people body shame me, like all kind of things. You when you put yourself in the spotlight, you also are going to deal with some negative feedback and negative reactions and lack of positive reactions that's going to come with that. So yeah, I think it's really tough to, especially for the young people in this generation, with how much focus is put on the perfection of social media, which obviously, and I'm grateful that the trend is becoming more transparent online because people have realized that this is an issue.
Yeah, it's yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I think it's something that came up recently. Someone reached out to me, gorgeous woman, right? And talking to me about how, just kind of encouraging the whole kind of, how lately we've seen a lot of different things like check on your strong friends, check on, because she was like, I'm not trying to be funny, but like in the industry, check on your pretty friends. And she's like, I get it. Everyone in the industry is gorgeous, right? But I think sometimes we have this misconception because someone is gorgeous that like they're okay. And there's
Their life is obviously perfect.
Right. Their life is perfect. They're gorgeous. Like, what
No.
could possibly be wrong in their life? And she's like, I'm not. And she's like, it's tough talking about this because obviously pretty people are like, what? Like, what are you even talking about right now? Like, what could be wrong with your life? So she's like, I feel like I have no one to go to talk about this, but it really is a thing because I get depressed too. I have bad days also. Like, my face has nothing to do with where I am mentally,
Absolutely.
and it's like no one ever checks on me because I'm the pretty girl,
For
and I was like,
sure.
wow, I hadn't even thought about that.
No, it is like that. And actually, it comes into play of too, just like when, I've had many people be like, oh, well, Kristina, your life is perfect because it looks like, okay, I have a dream job. I have like, these different things. And people have said that to me. And it is kind of frustrating because you're like, I mean, do I need to like post stories of me like crying so you can just like get the idea that I have terrible days too? Like, everybody has the same, we're all human. We all have the same problems. We all have the same, like not exactly the same because we all have different life experiences when we take things different ways, but everybody struggles. And I think especially women, there's a ton of insecurity issues that have been driven by the beauty and fashion culture and just by guys. Like, I mean, I'm not like man hating at all. I'm not like that, but women feel like they have to look or be a certain way because of that. And I think there's just a ton of pressure. And I have some gorgeous friends, that will be, crying for hours because they don't feel like anybody likes them. They feel ugly. They feel insecure. And a lot of times the women that you do think are the most secure because they're sexy and they come out in this hot, bikini and they're like, ooh, blah, blah, blah. And they have to have like the attention of everybody in the room. Like, why do they need that? Because they probably do have security issues. They probably do have something they're struggling with. And a lot of times when people are reaching for that kind of thing, you'll be surprised how many of them are driven by like really deep inner sadness, anxiety, and just a need or a space. And I think that's why it's so important, yes, try to be independently emotionally stable, but if not, please like connect with friends, connect with other people, connect with your family. And if you don't have a circle that is some people don't have that. I'm really blessed with a great family and circle of friends that are so supportive. Like, I've gone through some personal struggles recently, like unrelated to the fashion industry, and just like the way that my friends and family all came together, like sending flowers and notes and calling and texting and that kind of thing has just been like really encouraging. But not everybody has that. I know people that don't have that. And if you don't, then find a community, like this community. Find people they have something in common with. They're going to understand your struggles and they want to help you. They want to be there for you. They want to talk with you. They have some of the same problems. Like, you find there's always somebody that you can talk to. So don't be afraid to open up and reach out for help. And also, like you said, which I think is a great point, is just don't be afraid to be the one to help, because if you have the mental fortitude to be strong, share it. Like, don't be greedy. Not everybody has that, you don't always have it. So remember, if you want somebody there for you, you're going to need to be there for somebody else. And just realize that everybody, I think I get road rage really bad. This is my confession. And every time I do, I try to remind myself, this could be an 80-year-old grandma who has an emergency and had to go out for something because her children aren't in the area and nobody can do it for her. Or maybe this is somebody who just had a family member die and they are emotional and they're crying, and you just don't know what people's stories are. So try to be empathetic and understanding and support each other. Be a part of the community.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that you emphasize community, because like you mentioned, that's why this group is here.
I love that.
Is to offer that community for
That's
people
right.
who may not have it or who have it, but either way, to just
Yeah.
offer that community. So I always emphasize that. So I love that you emphasize that. And I like that road rage, how you handle that. That's good. That's good. I need to implement that, because, okay, so I don't have like road rage per se, but I could be nicer.
It's tough. I definitely, I'm like,
I could be nicer about it. So that's good. I'm going to try to remember that next time. Oh man.
Driving is a community too. There's a community everywhere.
Right, exactly. So how can people connect with you? Social media, all the places, all the things.
All the places. Okay.
Right.
So, yeah. Send me a DM on Instagram. My tags for everything is at dayinmydreams. Send me an email. People think that maybe, I only talk to brands or only talk to people that are trying to buy stuff. And that's not true. I actually get a lot of personal emails where people are like, hey, I just want you to know, I really like your style. And I just think it's cool. Like people just like write in to say hi or send a message to say hi. And those are some of my favorite messages. Like you said, I want to create a community too that's positive. And, when people ask, whatever they might be, okay, if you ask me, what do you struggle with? Because you want to know that I'm not perfect. I'll share it with you. I'm not afraid to do that. I don't blast it out there because I just feel like I said, sometimes when somebody complains about their problems, you're like, nobody wants to hear your problems. Mine are worse than your problems. I don't care about your problems. So I definitely care about people's problems. I definitely care about what you're excited about. And if they want to connect, reach out, send me a DM, send me an email, read the blog. I try to share a lot of my really intimate thoughts on there outside of fashion as well. So just being a positive encouragement, trying to help people to live the best version of themselves.
Well, awesome. Kristina, of course, thank you so much, number one. Number two, it's great to see you.
Yes, you
We haven't seen each other in years, so this is awesome to see you and to, have a chance to catch up and everything. But I really am. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of what you're doing in the industry. I never doubted that you would do something in the industry, but also more so, I'm proud of just the person you are, because it is refreshing to talk to people in the industry who are so transparent and who are just so real, and it is honestly sometimes hard to find. I say it, I love this industry, but it can be a snobby industry. So it's refreshing to, talk to people who are just yeah, I'm just me. We're just talking. It's cool.
Yeah,
So, so I super appreciate you for your time and for just joining us and for chatting with
Well,
us for a little bit.
the feeling is totally mutual. I have a lot of respect for you. You do a lot of amazing things. And speaking of go-getters, like you do everything. So thank you. And thanks for letting me be a part of the community.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I know I will see and talk to you again soon.
Please,
So
yes.
I'm just going to say, see you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.